Hello, this is Alex from MusicSequencing.com, and today we're looking at Addictive Drums 2. So if you're interested in buying it or you already own it and you want to see more about how it works, this is a good video for you. I've been using Addictive Drums for about 8 years now, since Addictive Drums 1, and on 2 occasions I've had drummers ask me who played drums on a track that was actually programmed drums with Addictive Drums on it. So you can get incredibly realistic results, and I'll show you how. It's also great for any type of production where you want kind of more expressive cymbals. I'll show you. So those are all like the hi-hats here. So if you're playing a beat, it can get really expressive, or if you're doing any type of music that needs very expressive cymbals, it's really great for that. I use it all the time, even on just more kind of programmy type drums. There's a bunch of MIDI that comes with it too. So if you are programming library tracks or something and you need a jazz thing, there's MIDI packs in here, so you can get the MIDI and then mix the drums how you want them to sound. Also, if you play an electronic drum set, there's mapping in here. I'll show you real quick. If you go up to the map window and you have, say, a Yamaha DTX 500, you click that preset and you can just start playing drums. Send the MIDI out of your electronic drums into your DAW, into Addictive Drums, and then it's like you're playing a real drum set. All right, so let's take a look at what we have here. Let me show you first why it sounds so realistic. So as opposed to just using like regular samples, if we look at this snare here and I choose it, I'm going to solo the snare mic. And let me take off the reverb. Now this is actually a blend of 2 samples. So if I change, so it's like recording a real snare. You might record a snare with 2 microphones and you can kind of blend them in. So it's like mixing that here. And then to take things further, this snare buzz, what that is if I play the kick drum, I have the snare mic soloed, but I play the kick drum. You hear that buzz? So this simulates when you're recording drums, when the drummer plays a kick, this snare might actually buzz. And all these details make it really add up and create a realistic drum sound. But if you don't like that, you can always turn it off. And then we don't hear anything. All right. And let's look at this kit menu. So each of these, the kick, snare, hi-hat, you can only put in a kick sample in here. So these are all the kick samples. If you click down here, click here, you can hear it. You can solo the kick, which is not soloing the kick microphone. It's soloing also the overhead, any other microphone that it is getting sent to, which you can change in the edit section. We'll get into that in a second. But real quick, these flex ones, in these flex ones, you can choose any sample that you have in your entire sample library for Addictive Drums. You can't add your own custom samples as far as I know. So in the flex, let's say we choose this white noise. Now in the snare, you can take this link button, link it to this white noise, and then when you play a snare, it also plays the white noise, and we can turn it down. All right, now that white noise short is a little too long. So let's look at what the edit window does. So now we're in the edit window and we have the kick selected. Let's go over to the flex one and turn on some kit piece controls. Add a volume envelope. And there's a little bit of white noise on there now. Adding a little bit of crispiness to it. You could also blend a clap with the snare or 2 kicks or something. So that's how you would do that. Further on this edit menu, let's go back and look at a snare. So you have compression on here. You also have noise. which isn't too great. Compression, distortion, an EQ, tape, and a shaper. And you have sends. So the sends go to this effects panel. We'll look at that in a second. And then up here, the tone designer is really cool because it is basically like a custom EQ for each sample. So if I change this to this snare, the tone designer kind of gets rid of the ringing, and they have tone designers for just about everything. So that is like a custom EQ. It's really good to have. You can also change the pitch. And then here you can change your overhead and room levels. So if you just wanted, let me turn off the flex. I don't want that on. All right. And turn off the sends. So the flex is still getting triggered. I turn off the flex mic. All right. Let's remove that by right-clicking it or clicking it. You have to click this little arrow, sorry. And there. Now the white noise is gone. All right. Sorry. Back to this. So that is how you can kind of mix each individual sound. Now, you might not like this compression and this EQ and stuff. What I have set up here is these green little arrows send it out to its own output. And in Logic, you do this by selecting a multi-output device. In something like Ableton, you would just create an audio track and then select the input from Addictive drums, snare, mic. But basically what the result is I have this snare microphone on its own channel. Now, of course, it's going to the overheads in the room over here on the right. But if I mute those, this is our snare by itself. And you can put on your own compression if you want a 76 of some sort, or your own EQ. You don't gotta use what they got in Addictive drums. So next, let's look at the effects. Also something that I don't use very much in Addictive drums. I prefer using my own reverbs and stuff, which I would use on these output channels. But this is basically reverbs in delays. And as I said, I'm not a big fan, but you've got your send. Here's the send 2. This one. Here's your send 1. And you can change the sound. Send the overheads, all that stuff. Or you can turn off that entirely. All right. Now let's look at the beats, the MIDI packs that I talked about earlier. This is really worth it because if you are not, you don't have time to program your own stuff, but you want something realistic, this will give you all your beats. You can select, of course, what you want, and then you press play. And I should say, too, these beats, not only is this a Latin Afro song 12, slow samba groove, but there is 2 different variants in here. So there's a middle and a verse. So there's more than meets the eye here. So, and if you like that, now this is at 140. So, oops, if I take this and drag it out here and don't import the tempo information, we can hear it back. And we can change our kit, This is great for anything that's really musical that you don't necessarily want to program yourself. You don't have the time for. You can find a lot of different stuff in here. You can search by categories and by tempos, of course. It's very intuitive, but you just take it, drag it out, and then you've got this MIDI in here, which you can also then edit and mute and everything. It's just right there. Very simple, great to use, um, and then super flexible because you can mix the drums. I think that about covers it. If you're interested in buying it, as I said, I would check out the different kits, choose from one of their custom plans, and choose the kits that you would think would be most beneficial for the type of music you're making. I hope you dig it. If you are interested in learning more about music production, you're wanting to mix whatever, come by musicsequencing.com. We got a ton of articles and stuff that will help you get going. And there will be forums soon if they're not up already. Have a great day. Peace, buddy.